Euclid's fundamental unit, in its third dimension, is a simple cube having a volume equal to 1 unit. Each of its edges is 1 unit in length, and each of its 6 face planes measure 1 square unit. Now, who could imagine that within the properties of this single cube can be found all of America's mandated monetary weight measures, as well as the quantity equating a gram to a grain? Well, continue watching, and you will see this Illuminati magic and so much more unfold before your very eyes. If we divide this cube's volume into 2 new equal cubes, we will get the cube on the right. If instead we divide its 6-unit surface area into 2 new cubes, then they'll be like the cube on the left. Now, take particular note of their unique edge lengths and how they compare with one another. The mathematical ratio uniting these two quantities is 0.890898. So what, you'll probably say? Looks just like any other number I've never seen before. Okay, fair enough. But multiples of this very special quantity, based on 3, 6, and 9, unpredictably show monetary measures defining U.S. gold and silver coinage for over its last 100 years of issuance. In this example, the weights are in gram-based units to an accuracy of better than 99.99%. I'm clueless as to what the odds are of all this happening by chance and coincidence, but it must be astronomical. Some viewers of my previous video about the decahedron and star tetrahedron and their 0.01375,001 difference in volume being directly related to the weights of U.S. coinage may recall that this chart proves just that. I repeat it here in this video to show how in that case the result was always in grains, which is in distinct contrast to the previous slide showing the same coin's weight measures in grams. Now we will see how dividing the volume 1 cube's volume versus dividing its surface resulted in the comparative quantity 0.89089887, and how this quantity is used in a sundry of monetary geometric constructs. Let's start first with the grain-gram conversion ratio of exactly 15.43235,835 grains per 1 gram. So again, what are the odds that the square root of 3 multiplied by the grain-gram ratio is equal to this coin's weight in grams? And likewise, what are the odds that the square root of 3 multiplied by the grain-gram ratio squared equals this coin's weight now in grains? I don't know either. But again, it must be huge. The cuboids in this next image have been derived from the equations above. Here we can see that the volume of the cuboid on the left is 412.5 units, the same as the 412.5 grain gross weight of the silver dollar coin. Conspicuously, the edge length of each of its 2 square face planes is the same as the 15.432 grain-gram conversion ratio, and the area of each of its four rectangular sides is 26.729 square units. Again, the weight of the silver dollar coin in grams. In essence, it could be the silver dollar itself, reconfigured into a cuboid of these proportions. The cuboid on the right is the same proportion cuboid, but with its width of its four sides set at 1 unit rather than 1.732 units, which is the square root of 3. This edge length of 8.9098627 is the square root of the cube root of 1/2 unit of volume. Remember, we started early on with a cube of 1/2 unit of volume. In a previous video, I introduced the star tetrahedron and its relationship to the decahedron, which produced the point 0.137500 monetary measure. Here again, with the star tetrahedron having this unique edge length, powers of the monetary measures are exposed first in its 4124 surface area, mimicking the 4125 grain weight of the silver dollar, and then with the sum of its edges being a 99.99% facsimile of the gold eagle's weight in grams. Now, here comes some illuminated magic. Take note of its 0.41666 volume, which is also 5/12 of a unit. What happens if it is reconfigured into a cube? The little cube at the base of the two columns is the previous star tetrahedron's volume reconfigured into a cube. The two columns are made of these cubes. On the left, 1152, and on the right, 1050. The white cubes in each column are their identical common cores. If each of the cube's volumes of 0.41666 is considered a grain weight volume, then the column on the left is exactly 480 grains, and the one on the right is 437.5 grains. They are modeling respectively the troy ounce and the marketplace or avoirdupois ounce. But this same little cube can be derived in a completely unrelated way. The cube in the back on the left is comprised of 27 cubes, like the 1 gram cube in the foreground. To the right is this same cube, now subdivided into 1,000 small cubes, which makes each one equal to 27 milligrams. So, we can come from the volume of a star tetrahedron with the unique 0.8908987 edge length, or from the assemblage and division of 27 1-gram cubes. And either way, we arrive at the same common building block, capable of building perfect models of both ounces. A lot of us didn't know there's a troy pound to go along with the troy ounce that was elegantly modeled in the column 2 slides back. There's only 12 ounces in 1 pound troy compared to the supermarket's 16 ounces to a pound. And of course, like all of the Illuminati's weights and measures, the troy pound can be perfectly modeled. The geometry of the 16-ounce avoirdupois pound is also modeled by this cube we derived from the star tetrahedron, although in a little different manner. In this image, each of the two cuboids equal 1/2 pound, which is 3,500 grains. These are cuboids, not cubes. Each of the two perfect cube assemblages is depicted by the white 27 milligram cubes. An additional complete layer of 27 milligram cubes have been added to one face of each cube, which I've highlighted in red. This model of our marketplace pound is 0.99998 perfect. Here is another model of the troy ounce. It is 2/3 of a perfect 12 by 12 by 12 cube. It was pictured a few slides back with these 1152 cubes stacked as a column. This version is simply the column cut in half, with the halves rearranged like this in this image. This 12 by 12 by 8 cuboid is an alternative model of the 480 grain troy unit of measure. The 1008 white 27 milligram cubes was shown earlier to be the common core of both ounces. Later, for a brief time in the 1870s, this common core itself would become the 420 grain trade dollar, targeted for trade in the Orient. And here again we see the avoirdupois ounce, modeled by its 1050 27 milligram cubes. In this case, the one complete course of red cubes number 150, leaving 900 white cubes beneath. It's important to emphasize that all of the models presented in this video are either perfect representations of the actual measures, or at least a 99.99% approach to that perfection. What they all have in common is that they are perfect and complete geometric cubes or cuboids, comprised of 27 milligram cubes. It's also important to emphasize and to remember that this journey began with Euclid's simple cube equal to 1 unit of volume. Is it possible that this all came about by coincidence? Or is there something else going on? I believe this is an artifact of the Illuminati's hidden hand. It's really up for you to judge for yourself. If you're interested in learning more about the many works of the Illuminati from the distant past right up to our present day, visit my website, kasperskyart.com. There you'll find the geometry of money and excerpts and introduction to the geometry of form. Both books, over 600 pages, are there to read for free. Printed copies of the geometry of money and forbidden knowledge are also available for purchase. They are respectively $20 and $25, plus $10 for shipping via USPS priority mail. Just email Paul at kasperskyart.com for details.